Have you ever wondered why some world leaders seem to clash? Behind the smiles and diplomatic pleasantries, there often lies tension, disagreement, and even outright animosity. This is particularly true when it comes to Xi Jinping, the paramount leader of China. While he projects an image of strength and unity, the truth is that many world leaders harbor reservations, anxieties, and even outright dislike for the Chinese premier. In this exploration of international relations, we'll delve into the reasons behind this distrust. Our journey will take us from the halls of Western power to the bustling capitals of Asia, examining the perspectives of presidents, prime ministers, and heads of state from every corner of the world. International relations are a delicate dance of power, economics, and ideology. Xi Jinping, since assuming power, has consolidated his authority within China and projected the nation's influence outwards on an unprecedented scale. This assertive foreign policy, coupled with China's economic rise, has inevitably led to clashes with other nations vying for power and influence on the world stage. In the following sections, we'll examine the specific concerns and grievances held by leaders from different regions, shedding light on the multifaceted and often complex reasons behind their strained relationships with Xi Jinping. Across the Western world, leaders look upon Xi Jinping's China with a mixture of apprehension and disapproval. For many in the West, China's human rights record is a source of deep concern. The situation in Xinjiang, the crackdown on dissent in Hong Kong, and the ongoing suppression of Tibetan culture have all cast a shadow over China's international reputation. Statements of condemnation and sanctions have been met with angry rebukes from Beijing, further straining diplomatic relations. The arrest of Meng Wanzhou, a top executive at Huawei in Canada on charges related to violating U.S. sanctions against Iran, sparked a diplomatic firestorm, highlighting the deep mistrust and conflicting interests at play. Western leaders grapple with the economic and strategic implications of China's rise. Chinese companies, often state-backed, pursue dominance in AI, telecommunications, and renewable energy. The Belt and Road Initiative raises alarm in Western capitals. Many see it as an attempt to expand Chinese influence. China's military assertiveness heightens tensions in the South China Sea. The question on the minds of many analysts and policymakers is whether the world is witnessing the early stages of a new Cold War, this time between the United States and China. While there are certainly parallels to the rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union, the current situation is far more complex and nuanced. The deep economic interdependence between China and the West creates a web of interconnected interests that make any kind of complete decoupling highly unlikely. However, the underlying ideological tensions, the strategic competition for resources and influence, and the potential for misunderstandings and miscalculations create a volatile mix. Whether Xi Jinping and his Western counterparts can find this balance remains to be seen. Moving eastward, we find that Xi Jinping's assertive foreign policy has also created ripples of discontent among China's Asian neighbors. For countries like Japan, India, and Australia, China's rise represents not just an economic challenge, but also a potential threat to their security and regional dominance. Japan, with its history of conflict with China and its own territorial disputes in the East China Sea, views China's growing military might with understandable apprehension. The Senkaku-Diaoyu Islands dispute, a long-standing source of tension, has flared up in recent years, with Chinese Coast Guard vessels making frequent incursions into waters claimed by Japan. This assertiveness, coupled with China's increasingly powerful navy, has led Japan to bolster its own defense capabilities and strengthen its alliance with the United States. India, a rising power in its own right, also finds itself increasingly at odds with China. The two countries share a long and disputed border in the Himalayas, and a brief but bloody border war in 1962 continues to cast a shadow over their relationship. Recent years have seen renewed tensions along the line of actual control, with both sides accusing the other of incursions and provocations. Beyond the border issue, India is wary of China's growing influence in its neighborhood, particularly in countries like Pakistan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. In response, India has been strengthening its own regional partnerships, including the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, a strategic forum involving India, the United States, Japan, and Australia. Australia, geographically distant but economically intertwined with China, has also witnessed a sharp deterioration in relations with Beijing. What began as a trade dispute over Australian calls for an independent inquiry into the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic escalated into a full-blown diplomatic crisis. China imposed tariffs on Australian exports, ranging from wine and barley to coal and lobster, and engaged in a campaign of public criticism targeting Australia's foreign policy. Australia, for its part, has accused China of economic coercion and interference in its domestic affairs. Furthermore, Australia has strengthened its defense ties with the United States and expressed concerns over China's growing military presence in the South China Sea, a vital waterway for Australian trade. The tensions between China and its Asian neighbors are not merely about territorial disputes or economic competition. There's a deeper anxiety at play, a sense that China's rise represents a fundamental shift in the regional power balance, one that threatens the interests and aspirations of countries accustomed to a certain order. Tensions between China and its neighbors are palpable in the West Philippine Sea. This vital waterway, rich in resources, has become a regional flashpoint with China asserting expansive claims. This brings China into conflict with the Philippines, which seeks to protect its maritime territory. Filipino fishermen's livelihoods and potential energy resources are at stake. China's construction of military-equipped artificial islands has raised alarms in Manila and beyond. The Philippines' concerns are shared by many in the international community, who see China's actions in the West Philippine Sea as part of a broader strategy to dominate the so-called First Island Chain. Control over this island chain would give China significant strategic advantages, allowing it to project power further into the Pacific and potentially restrict the movement of U.S. naval forces. The militarization of artificial islands and the harassment of Filipino fishing vessels have all contributed to a climate of fear and uncertainty in the region. On the one hand, the Philippines recognizes the need to maintain a working relationship with China, a major trading partner and a regional powerhouse. On the other hand, the Philippines cannot stand idly by while its territorial integrity is being eroded and its people are being threatened. This delicate balancing act has been a defining feature of Philippine foreign policy in recent years. The previous administration, under President Rodrigo Duterte, adopted a conciliatory approach towards China, seeking to downplay tensions and prioritize economic cooperation. The current administration, under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., faces the challenge of navigating this complex geopolitical landscape while upholding Philippine interests. The future of the West Philippine Sea remains uncertain. China shows no signs of backing down from its claims, and the Philippines, despite its limited resources, remains determined to defend its rights. The international community, caught between the competing interests of these two nations, faces a difficult choice: to appease a rising power, or to stand up for the principles of international law and the sovereignty of a smaller nation. The outcome of this dispute will have far-reaching implications for the region and beyond. As tensions simmer and diplomatic efforts continue, the world watches and waits. hoping for a peaceful resolution, but bracing for the possibility of further escalation. Shifting our focus to a continent often overlooked in discussions of global power dynamics, we find that Africa, too, has a complex and evolving relationship with Xi Jinping's China. For decades, China has been steadily increasing its presence in Africa, investing heavily in infrastructure projects, securing access to natural resources, and forging close ties with governments across the continent. This engagement has been welcomed by many African leaders who see China as a valuable partner in their pursuit of economic development and a welcome counterbalance to Western influence. China's no-strings-attached approach to development assistance, which often comes without the same level of scrutiny and demands for good governance that characterize Western aid, has made it an attractive partner for governments seeking to build roads, bridges, ports, and other essential infrastructure. However, China's growing influence in Africa has not been without its critics. Concerns have been raised about the sustainability of some of the debt being accumulated by African countries to finance Chinese-backed projects. Cases like Sri Lanka, which was forced to cede control of a strategic port to a Chinese company after struggling to repay its debts, have fueled anxieties about debt-trap diplomacy, where China is accused of using loans to gain leverage over vulnerable countries. Furthermore, there are concerns about the environmental and social impact of some Chinese investments in Africa. Projects in mining, logging, and other extractive industries have been criticized for their potential to damage ecosystems, displace communities, and fuel corruption. Across the Atlantic in Latin America, we find a region grappling with its own set of challenges and opportunities in its relationship with China. Like Africa, Latin America has seen a surge in Chinese investment in recent years, particularly in infrastructure, energy, and agriculture. China has become a major trading partner for many Latin American countries, providing a vital market for their exports of commodities like soybeans, copper, and oil. However, Latin American leaders are also wary of becoming overly reliant on China. This has led many Latin American countries to adopt a strategy of pragmatism, seeking to maximize the benefits of engaging with China while also maintaining strong ties with the US and other global partners. This balancing act is particularly delicate for countries like Brazil and Mexico, regional powers with global aspirations of their own. These countries recognize the importance of engaging with China, but they also seek to maintain their strategic autonomy and avoid being drawn into a zero-sum game between Beijing and Washington. The challenge for Latin American leaders is to chart a course that allows them to harness the economic potential of their relationship with China, while safeguarding their own interests and values. As China's global influence continues to grow, its relationships with countries in Africa, Latin America, and other parts of the developing world will be increasingly important. Whether China can allay the concerns of some leaders while solidifying its partnerships with others remains to be seen. The strained relationships between Xi Jinping and many world leaders are numerous and complex. It's not just personality clashes or cultural misunderstandings. Fundamental disagreements over values and anxieties about China's growing power fuel these tensions. The West grapples with China's human rights record and assertive foreign policy. The Philippines, in a maritime dispute, embodies the challenges faced by smaller nations. Africa and Latin America, eager for investment, navigate a delicate balancing act. They seek to leverage China's economic power without becoming overly reliant. The world watches closely, recognizing the future of global leadership hinges on navigating these complexities. Can Xi Jinping bridge divides and forge a cooperative global order? Will China's rise be met with resistance, or will it emerge as a respected global leader? The answer, with implications for peace and prosperity, will be written in the years to come. Understanding the perspectives and motivations of different actors on the world stage is essential for navigating this complex and uncertain terrain. By moving beyond simplistic narratives and engaging in open and honest dialogue, we can begin to build bridges of understanding and create the conditions for a more peaceful and prosperous future for all. The challenges we face are significant, but so too are the opportunities. By embracing the principles of cooperation, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to the common good, we can work together to build a world where differences are not seen as threats, but as opportunities for growth, innovation, and progress. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of global leadership and international relations. Remember, the world is a complex and ever-changing place, and there's always more to learn. Keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and keep wondering about the forces that shape our world. And don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Don't miss out on future explorations and discoveries. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with our new content. Your journey of wonder continues with every video. Stay connected and engaged on social media. Continue the conversation, follow us. Thank you for being a part of the Have You Ever Wondered community. Keep wondering, keep discovering. Until next time.